Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You mean to wish me a good morning when you mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not?
Please go away. Let me scream for the love of God.
Ben, are you ready for another show?
No, but then I never am.
What would you like to say to kick this one off?
Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is.
That's a good way to start.
It's apropos. No, I don't know what that really means.
Apostrophe.
It's appropriate.
Excellent way to
Because
start.
doing this show is a relief.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Another week, another podcast. Good Movie Monday. That's the name of it.
It's the home of nerdy cinematic ramblings.
You've hit play on the podcast that is described by us as pretty good.
So we're the only people who have reviewed the podcast on Apple Podcasts. And I say that we because it's just you.
Yeah.
I haven't done it.
Maybe
I should get able to do it.
we need a marketing team.
This is a great show. Ben Hellwig.
Yes, well, that is your name. My name is Glenn Cochran, and we're here to talk shit, and as you've already discovered, and fumble over our words and struggle and stammer to remember people's names and things and synopses. And
Yeah.
you name it.
What a movie's about, who's in it,
Yes.
when it was made, what the poster looked like, what year it came out. We know none of those things.
You know, nearly every week, we present you with an interview of some kind. We talk to lots of people, directors and actors and writers and whatnot. And this week we've got a director that's made a couple of really good movies with Ethan Hawke. One was Born to be Blue and the other was Stockholm. I don't know if you saw those.
I saw Stockholm.
Yeah, and which was the story behind the origin of the term Stockholm
Syndrome, yeah.
So his name is, I'm going to butcher this, mind you. His name is Robert Budreau.
Did you ask him when you interviewed him?
No, I did not. I avoided it like the plague. I
So
should've.
let's. Was there a lot of good one, mate? Did you just call him mate a lot?
Hey, friend. I call everyone mate. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know, back when I owned the video store, I had like a really aggressive customer at me. And because I just naturally call people mate, he kept saying stuff at me, coming at me. And I'm like, mate. And he goes, I'm not your mate. And like, he got really angry because I was using the term mate. I'm like, we can call assholes mates in Australia. That's kind of what we do. Anyway.
Yeah.
Robert,
Come at me, bro.
Robert
That doesn't mean we're
Budreau.
brothers. You
Yeah.
fucking idiot.
this guy's got two new movies. One of them we're going to be talking about extensively is Delia's Gone, which is a new one being released through Eagle Entertainment. And then he's got one coming out that hasn't been released yet called Queen of Bones with Martin Freeman and Jacob Tremblay. It's a gothic horror film, so he's going to talk about that.
Cool.
Yes, and that's coming up midway through the show. We also have Terrific TV Tuesday.
The only Tuesday TV segment that drops on a Monday.
Correct. We've got Jarrett's PE class in a few moments, and of course,
Thank God Jarrett's back.
Oh, bloody oath. Tell me about it. And
we rarely get praise, so we're always constantly confused and unsure if anyone's listening to the show. But geez, when it's time for complaints, they fire up on the internet.
I take it as a badge of honour.
Yeah.
We also have the Bonehead Weekly Fun Size coming up as well. Throw in a couple of songs from the early to mid 2000s, and I'd say you got a pretty good show. Yes.
Well, you would say that.
Yeah, I would. What about social media, mate? What's your favourite one?
Look, I'm an Instagram guy.
Are you? You send me a lot of messages on Instagram. It's the last place I always check, so I miss a lot.
Look, I don't really use Facebook anymore.
That's where
I don't
I
even use Facebook Marketplace because I'm not really in the market for buying stuff at the moment. So I don't use Facebook. I don't use Facebook
I
Marketplace.
bought something off Marketplace just yesterday.
Just yesterday. Wow. I don't use X, even though X is the last bastion of
Freedom.
freedom. I don't use, and I can't believe I just called X without even thinking about calling it Twitter.
I know, mate. It's ingrained.
I do.
It's only like it's 2x's short of your usual search.
Yeah, that's right. I do use TikTok every now. Usually, I like to look at TikTok at about 5 o'clock in the morning. Like I wake up, and while I'm lying in bed, it's just a scroll. But I wish there was a setting on TikTok that would just do the scrolling for you,
Yeah.
so you don't have to swipe. Just
Mate, that's the ultimate laziness.
just let it go, so I can have something on that is not the TV, but that's making noise that I can kind of fall back asleep to.
TikTok is such a dangerous one. Let me give you a little bit of an insight and a secret into just the way we talk in our house. So if you excuse yourself and you go to the bathroom and you're there for too long, we assume you've taken a tick plop. Because you can get lost in that scroll.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very easy. It's very easy to lose 35, 40 minutes.
Stone.
Yeah. It's two shits.
That's right. Look, back to the socials.
bridge. You bridge shits.
Ultimately, you can go to goodmoviemonday.com and that will take you to every social media page we have. It's also got all of our videos and every episode. It's a hub. It's a hub for what we do. Hey, you did not join me last week for the screening of Bad Boys, Ride or Die, a.k.a. Part 4.
A decision I do not regret.
It's a good thing, too, because I accidentally missed it.
Oh, did you?
I put it in the wrong day in my calendar.
Because I was wondering, because I thought, surely it's got to be coming up.
Yeah.
And I've seen Old Man Smith and Fat Man Lawrence on the internet shilling like I've never seen anyone shill for a movie before.
So my wife spent the day working in the city just so she could come to that screening with me, and I'm about to leave and walk out the door, and I thought I better just quickly check the time. It was the day before, so yeah, so she had to catch the train home.
And you sent me a lovely passive aggressive, well, people like it when we talk about these on the show message when I declined.
I don't
And
even
then
think
you
it wasn't deliberately passive aggressive, but it totally would have come across that way.
And then you missed it yourself.
I did. Oh well.
So let's talk about it.
I got
Because
nothing to
who
say.
gives a shit?
But I will talk about a couple of things that I did watch sort of over the last few days that I thought were worth mentioning. They're not recommendations at all, but just wanted to talk about them. The new Jim Henson documentary.
I did see that had dropped.
Jim Henson Idea Man. It's directed by Ron Howard, which is, that was a bit of a drawing point for me. Like, okay, because I like what he does. He's done a few really interesting things lately. It's good, but it's not as good as those other ones they've done, like the Being Elmo and I Am Big Bird. It doesn't really go deep.
Well, was there something to reveal about Jim
Like those
Henson,
two?
like those two?
Well, they revealed that he was much more of an asshole than what you would think. He was very much he was not a family man. I can tell you that. He kind of abandoned his family just for the love of his work. But
Which is why now that his kids are totally destroying his legacy.
yeah,
like,
that's
it's like,
right.
well,
and they're in it. They're talking heads. But it doesn't go as deep as I wanted it to. But it's still just nostalgic, and it's fun to go through and see all that footage, particularly behind the scenes of Labyrinth and things like that.
yeah, right.
Which, I mean, those images are also popping up on TikTok, so you can sort of.
I would
save
like to
yourself some
see
time.
like all the behind the scenes of like the Muppets Musicians of Bremen, like those the home video movies, like
Well,
because that was my introduction to. Now that I think about it, because I know we've talked about this on the show before, but what was your introduction to horror?
Yeah.
And it was that Muppets. It wasn't just the Muppets Musicians of Brennan, because in that movie or episode or whatever it is, like the owners of the animals want to kill them. They want to. And that was terrifying. But then I think it was the Frog and the Princess or whatever. Like there's the monster Muppets are running around doing stuff. And that used to scare me.
You want to see terrifying? There's some amazing footage of the Muppets before they became the Muppets, before they were children's puppets. They were made for late night television. And they were different designs. Kermit's the only one that's been a sort of a staple sort of look over the years. That was him and his wife.
Is it like Homer and Marge, like in the early episodes of The Simpsons?
So it's like the meth kind of Muppets, right? Great footage, and like him and Frank Oz being very young and so much behind the scenes footage. That's what's appealing about it.
Do they talk about when they had the Muppets rebrand and it became a late night talk show?
They didn't go into that. I thought they would, but they definitely did the whole transition from Sesame Street to the Muppets, and then he called the Muppets off before it really peaked and wanted to move on to something else. And so his trajectory of his career is all there, but I just felt like this glazes over a lot. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and I hope that you have this on VHS, because there's a movie I never knew existed that I found called Top Kids from 1987. Have you ever heard of this? It stars Jared Rushton. He's one of the kids, and he's the Jared Rushton's the best friend from Big that was also in Honey, I Shrunk the
Yeah.
Kids, and he's in it when he was really small. And this is just a fascinating movie. It's kind of like it takes a bit of Tron and Back to the Future and Quantum Leap and whacks it all together.
Yeah, right.
It's about these genius kids, and like, there's no way they could be that genius. And by genius, the film would suggest that they can just tap a few buttons and they're fucking traveling through time. But they essentially discover time travel and send one of them back through all the ages. But the weird thing is, they send him back to moments in time in the evolution of the automobile and the car. So it's like he meets Henry Ford and he meets like Ferrari and Lamborghini, all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And to get back to the present, he kind of has to use the cars of the past. Anyway,
Yeah, right.
such a weird movie. Looks very made for television.
It looks like a horror film from the poster,
Well,
too.
the poster I read is like a Danish or Swedish poster or something like that.
Yeah.
They're not the characters from the film. The lighthouse is not in there. And because I could
favourite
not,
kind of
you know
poster.
that when I watch a movie, I love to put the poster on my Facebook, say, hey, here's tonight's view. Sometimes you get a conversation out of it.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't find a poster, I put one together myself.
Right, you made your own.
So the poster that people may have seen on my Facebook is actually one I banged together, which is infinitely better than the ones online. But check it out; it's for free on YouTube. Top kids.
Yeah, right. Top kids.
Anyway, should we?
Top that.
I think Jarrett's back
Top
this week.
that.
Should we bring Jarrett into the show?
Yeah. Are we going to top that with Jarrett? Is he going to rap like the top that rap from Teen Witch?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. We'll top that. Top that. How are you going to top that?
Is that
I really can't remember any of the rest of the lyrics.
Ben? I have no doubt that like Jarrett probably wanted a whole nother week off, but then he went and watched PE class last week, and I thought, nah, I better come back.
Yeah, I didn't want you to have to rope old mate back in there again, Mal. Like, that would be rough.
Well, I skimmed over the surface. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I think the biggest problem though was the introduction of DVDs into PE class.
Oh, the filthy inferior format.
Yeah. I'm just surprised that we didn't talk about the VHS tapes coming out that week.
I'd rather be talking about those. If you had, I probably would have had to have come back to address it. But yeah, no, I am back, and I'm back for Rod Williams also, hopefully to deliver a laugh and hopefully provide a laugh for him as well.
Yeah, for some context there, one person who truly does appreciate this segment very much.
Good old Rod. Good Rod.
Good to see you representing there, mate.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, look, this bad boy. I mean, he's getting pretty worn out, but now he looks distressed and vintage. So I could probably wear it to Fitzroy, and I'm going to have people coming up and offering me $100 for the shirt off my back.
I like the sound,
and I'll take it.
Welcome
Free
back.
the nipple.
It's great to have you again for another week of PE class. What do we got on the slate for this week?
Well, it's. I won't say it's a big week. There's a key release this week that's somewhat huge, which is probably why all the majors decided they weren't going to release anything in opposition of it, which makes a lot of sense. And that's June 2, which I'm still disappointed was not released on June 2nd, but June 2, 4K Blu-ray DVD. The 4K and Blu-ray have Dolby Atmos, and the 4K and Blu-ray have special features. However, it's only 6 featurettes. So, or maybe no, 8 featurettes. Sorry, there's 2 extras. And they're like 7 to 10 minutes a piece. There's no commentary on this. This sounds like a double dip if there ever was one.
So hang on. The featurettes go for 80 minutes in total. That's how long the film should have gone.
Yeah. And surprisingly, no extended cut on this release either, Ben. So you'll be disappointed to hear that, I'm sure.
I was looking forward to that 15-hour director's cut of just the development of the desert.
Well, there was talk that he was going to do the supercut where they combine the two. So there's every chance they may do that and then throw in an additional 80 to 90 hours of additional footage.
Well, this does have a double pack coming too, yeah?
It does. You can pick it up with 1 and 2. However, I'm not sure with 1 whether all the special features are on the 4K disc or whether they were like spread out across the Blu-ray. And in this instance, the 4K is standalone. There's no Blu-ray component, but all the special features are on the 4K, which is good news.
Cool.
It's me tipping my hat.
I can't say I'm the biggest, this iteration of June fan, but who is buying this on DVD?
Yeah,
surprised.
What's the
You'd be
point?
surprised.
Yeah,
You'd
true.
be surprised.
It's probably the people that don't have streaming and they'll pick it up for like 20 odd dollars at a retailer, and then it ends up on Marketplace 2 weeks later with a stack of other things that
But I
they
mean,
paid
even the
outrageous amounts
grannies
for.
who steal stuff from JB Hi-Fi on the regular should be taking Blu-ray.
Yeah, totally.
But I mean,
I-
you've seen like the JB Hi-Fi buyers groups and stuff like that. People that collect, they're still posting photos of the latest DVDs they've picked up. Like, it's
Yeah.
strange.
I get it
Oh
if
well,
the-
yeah, it's true.
That's
If
all
it,
you've
yeah,
got.
yeah, but nobody wants to be watching it. It's like, watching a Christopher Nolan film on a plane. It's like, why would you watch something of this magnitude on DVD? But anyway, it's good that it's there. I mean, the fact that we've got 3 current formats that are being stocked anywhere is surprising. We've never had that. Like, I mean, even when DVD kind of came out, VHS was only around for a few more years. So the fact that we've got 3 formats and DVD, it won't die despite my desire for it to just fade away fast. But anyway, it's not.
There's got to be a fear involved with it because, like, it is still performing, and so even though you want to kind of force people's hand and upscale, the fear would be that if you remove DVD, you've just lost an entire bracket.
Yeah, it does make sense. And I mean, the replication costs and everything would be so cheap to do, and why not? And I mean, the beauty of it is, as long as there's new release content coming out on DVD won't be perceived as being this, obsolete format, because clearly it's not, which will also keep the prices down on the DVDs in the thrift shop because they're still readily available, will be the perception. As soon as they don't make them anymore, suddenly the op shops go, hey, these are vintage. These used to be 50 cents or $1. Now they're $5 to $10 for this copy of Ocean's 11 Roadshow DVD, non-anamorphic. But it's got a beautiful picture disc. Look at that. Oh, it's got some dice on it.
I think as long as the manufacturers charge 3 times the amount to produce Blu-rays as they do DVDs, like that price has only gone up since the invention of the format. It has not leveled out and come down. So,
and there's less and less replicators now too. A lot of stuff is being done offshore, which means that it carries logistics costs to get them over, minimum print runs. They need to know how much. And so if something is successful, say, for instance, Oppenheimer, when it came out on 4K and sold through, it was tricky to find. And people were flipping a standard edition of Oppenheimer for twice the value on eBay because the distributor underbaked how many units they thought it would actually sell.
Yeah, and look, just to play devil's advocate, and I do bang this drum a fair bit, when TVs that are big upscale the way they do, like the DVDs look pretty good, so...
Well,
I mean, I've been watching plenty of DVDs lately.
No, I agree. They don't look too bad, but I watch them like this.
Well, I don't.
And they look great like that. I'm like, oh...
You got some issues.
It's the best way to watch DVD on 75-inch OLED is, it looks good. Though admittedly, I need to get a new prescription for my glasses because I was at the movies watching the new Planet of the Apes a week or 2 ago. And I just was like, the screen's too far away. I wish I was at home. I could watch it on the OLED. It was at FOMO, this new cinema in Brunswick. And so even if I were to choose to sit in a Glenn seat right at the front there, it's still quite a distance from the screen because it feels like there's an orchestra pit between you and the screen there. But it is a cool cinema.
Does that mean you're going to join us for these screens?
No, I'm going to get a new prescription. I'll tell you that much. And I'll tell you what, I'll be like, geez, this 4K Ultra HD is really good. But moving on, gents. So what else have we got coming out? Well, from Roadshow, but from Rialto Distribution, we've got Immaculate coming out on Blu-ray and DVD, which I think everyone somewhat enjoyed. But admittedly, I did watch The First Omen on Disney Plus last week, which I love saying. I watched The First Omen on Disney Plus. And I personally think it was the better of the 2 films. I enjoyed it more. I mean, I love Nell Tiger-Free. I think she's a terrific actress. But I actually just enjoyed it. The set pieces were more grander.
Hang on, back it up. Yeah. I think you dropped out when you said which one you preferred.
Oh, The First Omen. I actually prefer The First Omen to Immaculate. Okay. I think they're good companion pieces, but I liked The First Omen.
So here's an interesting thing I want to bring up with you. I actually preferred Immaculate. However, I enjoyed both almost equally. But in talking about First Omen at work, did they rewrite the lore here? Because the whole concept of the jackal kind of got abandoned.
Yeah, no, they did. It's the male. Well, it's the jackal is the male, but it was the mother was the female, was the female jackal in the original
Yeah.
Omen series. So they did rewrite part of that lore, but then they kept everything else
It flowed nicely.
in line.
It
Absolutely.
It sunk up really well. But it was only brought to my attention after the fact that the jackals kind of changed. I'm like, fuck, I didn't even pick up on that.
I only revisited the Omen not all that long ago, so it was still fresh in my mind when I watched it. What I did like about this film, and no spoilers, is the fact that it does lend itself to a sequel that's not a remake of the Omen, but a story that can happen concurrently to the Omen, which
Definitely.
I'm all for. I hope it did. I hope if it didn't do theatrical, that it's doing numbers on Hulu and numbers on Disney Plus to enable the second one, because something of this production value, like it nailed the period aesthetic amazingly. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And if it does get a disc release, hopefully a 4K release with Atmos, because it was on 4K and Atmos on Disney Plus, and it looks spectacular. I'll definitely pick it up regardless. But Immaculate, the other nunsploitation movie that's coming out, is out this week. I don't know at this stage whether the local release has the special feature that is on the decal release in the United States. They're both dropping same time. I think we're getting our release on the Wednesday, obviously, and the US is getting theirs either on Tuesday or Thursday, but theirs has a commentary track with Michael Monaghan. But I don't know if we're getting that. So, yeah, I'll be keen to check it out once it hits store shelves.
We have an interview with him in 2 weeks' time on the show.
Oh, terrific. Excellent. He's a really lovely, and an absolute genre enthusiast. Like, he's reference points for doing, I mean, there's so many great things about Immaculate in terms of some of the music choices, like using a Jarlo track from a classic film. I think it was the Red Witch Kills 9 Times, or, some outrageously long title. Italian title, plus where they chose to shoot certain sequences in the film. But yeah, it's great. That's coming out. Now, another title coming out from Roadshow, but from the Warner catalog, is American Sniper, and that's coming out 4K Ultra HD. Obviously, it's an older title, Clint Eastwood film. It's not one I'll be picking up. I've got it on Blu-ray in that outrageously large Clint Eastwood box set.
That's enough.
I don't need a double dip. Yeah, I've seen it once, and once was sort of enough. Plus, I'm not fond of that lead actor. I know that he had a certain amount of tragedy, but he's recovered and he's doing more of that King of bloody Mayor of Kingtown, whatever the hell it's called. Anyway, I'm not picking up American Sniper, but it is coming out in 4K Ultra HD with Blu-ray.
Hang on. You're talking about Jeremy
Renner, I'm getting them confused. Yeah. I hate them both. Sorry. Yes, sorry. Now I am getting confused. Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
They're both got people I don't
go
like.
Along with it though, because fuck Bradley Cooper.
Yes, and I get confused because Jeremy Renner did The Hurt Locker, which was a better film, I feel, but I still didn't love. And then Bradley Cooper, who they're my two least liked actors in Hollywood. I won't say I hate them. I just don't enjoy their presence in anything that I watch.
Talk about like going full Hollywood flog. Bradley Cooper has just kind of fucking gone over and above being a fucking fuckwit.
Oh, absolutely. Like he's outspoken, right, about things like the casting. Well, not necessarily the casting of Cillian Murphy, but taking digs against, someone getting a role 3 months out from production when he got Oppenheimer. And the beauty was he took out the Academy Award for it, and poor old Bradley Cooper had spent 8 years learning some piano number or something of that instance. was lost, which was glorious. But I kind of expect that, once his star fades in like the next, 10 years or maybe even less, that he'll be outside a prominent politician's trial saying that he's the next Hitler, because I can totally see Bradley Cooper doing that.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so moving on to Mad Men. Mad Men actually have 2 cool releases this week. The first one's The Master Gardener. Paul Schrader's The Master Gardener. I haven't seen this, but this kind of completes that trilogy that he did with First Reformed and what was the middle one? The Card Counter, which I really, really dug. So I'm looking forward to checking this one out. It's got Joel Edgerton in it as well.
Yeah, this shows how much I fucked up your segment last week, because I announced that on last week's show.
Well, look, it may have been coming out, but you know what these release dates are like at the moment. They keep pushing things at the last minute. But anyway, that one's out. I won't hang around for too long because it's already been discussed last week.
But I'm looking forward to seeing it. That was
same. I'm absolutely. It's funnily enough, it did go to streaming first because it's been on Binge or Prime, one of them, and I've seen it come up a few times. I put it in my queue and I was like, I've just got to be in the right frame of mind for this particular film, because Paul Schrader films are generally always heavy, unless they're cat people. Then they're just coked up hot messes.
Or
But-
Exorcist.
You shot my
Dominion.
box.
Oh yeah, no, which I liked, but I actually preferred Rennie Harlan's Exorcist, the beginning, over it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed both of those movies. But remember, I said that I waited like about 19 years after they came out to sit down, and I did them back to back, and I was like, both not so bad. They
No,
were
I
right.
mean, now you know what it's like to be me and have unpopular opinions about bad films.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But the worst part about it was when I finally watched them 19 years later, no one could remember what they were like except that they weren't good.
Yeah.
And I was like, but guess what? I did it before Exorcist Believer, but God, yeah, I didn't even finish Exorcist Believer, but that's a whole other story. Another title coming out from Mad Men, and this is another title that's somewhat of a delayed release. It did land on streaming. I think it was on Binge a few months ago. Emily the Criminal with Aubrey Plaza. I really dug this film. Like, it's a really, really clever film with her sort of brand of cheeky, subtle humor. But it's a pretty cool film. So it's good that it's getting a Blu-ray and DVD locally as well. I just thought, it's gone to digital. We're not going to see a physical release of it locally, but indeed we are this week. Then moving on to Viavision. And Viavision, this is not an imprint title. This is separate to that. They've got... oh, no, sorry. Now I've just realized they're releasing Emily the Criminal. That wasn't Mad Men. Mad Men's got The Master Gardener, like I said. And they've also got The Great Escaper with Michael Caine,
This
which
is all
I
last
didn't
week's stuff.
see.
This is all last week's stuff.
Well, yeah, they're coming out this week now. So, yeah.
On my list is last. Okay,
All coming out June 11th now. I know things get shuffled around, like Viavision, Emily the Criminal, but they've also got imprint title, the sole
I was going to say
imprint title.
because they all come out through all of these indie ones.
Mad
They're all
Men.
coming out through Mad
Through
Men.
Mad Men, so must
So if
have
Mad
been
Men shift a date, it's
Yeah.
like 3 distributors' dates change, or
Everybody-
5 distributors' dates change.
everything changes. Yeah, so that last one that I will mention is imprint release through Viavision, and that one's The Man Who Haunted Himself with
The
Roger Moore.
one. Yeah.
And it's a cool film. I stupidly picked up the Kino Lorber Blu-ray probably about a year ago. Though I'm going to double dip.
Yeah, I like
I'm
that
going to pick
one.
this up because it's a cool film and it's got a ton of special feature content. It's got the archival stuff that was on the Kino release, plus a whole bunch of new content. There's video essays, film historian commentaries. It's fully loaded, right down to the fact that there's even a replica press booklet inside the release, which I think might be one of the first times imprint's actually done that in just a standard slipcase release. They've done it in those boxes, but they haven't done it in one of these. So hopefully it's a sign of things to come, because yeah, that's a hell of a lot more, than art cards or anything of that nature. It's something tangible that I can read while I'm on the toilet.
Well,
So,
Rod will
yes.
be very happy because you've given it way more info than I did.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Did you announce that one last week as well, did you?
Nearly everything except for June.
There you go. There you go. But look, we've got some big releases coming up in the next couple of weeks, so it'll be a little bit more exciting, and hopefully they're fresh and they weren't mentioned in the last segment. Oh, my mind's a set. I watched it and I completely forgot. It's not even like I looked and went, "Hey, well, he's already covered these ones." I was like, "Oh no, I'm going to do it
It
anyway."
was not memorable.
There you go. There you go. Well, at least we've got June 2 this week, gentlemen. So until next time, stay physical.
It's Terrific TV Tuesday, the only Tuesday TV segment that drops on a Monday.
All right, Glennis.
Woo!
You know what time it
I
is.
don't like Glennis.
Well, that's what I'm going to be calling you from now on.
You don't like lettuce? I don't like Glennis.
It's time for Terrific TV Tuesday.
We just don't need that intro anymore. Like,
No, just keep doing it.
I do love the intro, so I'm going to play both.
Yeah.
I'll let you go, and I'm going to play that too.
Play the intro.
Yeah.
It should be me saying it and then the intro plays. But maybe I need to come up with a new intro. I need to do a new one that that's just my voice going, Terrific TV Tuesday. Like
You'll still come in with the same.
with the same thing. Yeah, I'll still do it. Oh yeah, but it'll,
In other words, we just get to ramble on about some television.
You know what we need though? What we actually need is for you to have because this thing I think has it, the little podcast recorder,
Sound effects?
so we can listen to it. So
Live.
then I know what's happened.
Well, I've tried that and it failed
And it just
miserably.
failed,
Yeah. Anyway,
That's what we need.
That's a behind the curtain conversation, and we'll definitely explore
But
that.
anyway, let's talk about TV. What have you been watching this week, Glennis?
Interesting. I tried a new show, Bennis. And it,
Bennish.
I got about 15 minutes in, decided it wasn't for me. I don't think it was as funny as what everyone's saying. And it was the new Shane Gillis show, Tires. Have you
I haven't
seen or
heard
heard
of
that?
this, no.
You know Shane Gillis, the comedian? He's the guy that's on Joe Rogan a lot. He is the guy that defended Bud Light when that went down, and he's now the new
What
spokesman.
happened to Bud Light?
Well, the whole Dylan Mulvaney transgender stuff happened to it when they put her on the can. Anyway, big controversy. It's considered to be the biggest corporate marketing disaster since New Coke. Go and look into it. It's fucking epic. And then Kid Rock got in trouble because he got out the machine gun and plowed down all the Bud Lights, saying we'll never drink this again. And
Because they put a transgender person on the...
you're going to have to go into it. It is such a complicated, complex thing. But Shane Gillis was the guy that he's kind of on the conservative side, but he's not. He's just a centrist, right? But he's the one that came out and said, fuck it, I love Bud Light. Like, who cares? Like, it's delicious, you know? And now...
Who cares who's on the, the packaging?
It's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, he's the new spokesperson. He's got a new show called Tires. It's very much one of those...
Is it like the Ken James show where they run was it like the pit crew of a race car team?
No, it's all set in like a Bob Jane style shop, and it's like the office in a car shop, you know, and it's just not as fun or edgy as what I wanted it to be. And he's got all of his mates from all the podcast world in there as well.
Is it like a traditional 3-camera laugh track type sitcom?
There's no laugh track. It's very much. I'm trying to think of a good comparison to it, and I can't because I don't watch enough television to have that knowledge. But look, it just wasn't for me. I may give it another shot because I do love everybody that's in it, like individually. So what I did, I found another documentary on, I think it's Netflix, called Dancing with the Devil, the 7M TikTok cult. You heard of this? This is one you'll love.
Is this one that you can watch while sitting on the toilet?
Well, it's a 3-parter, so that's about, 2 hours, 2.5 hours?
So 2 sessions.
Yeah, that's right. Or one big...
One bridger.
This is fascinating. This is all about TikTok marketing agency called 7M that recruited all of these dancers off TikTok. Turns out it's a massive cult. Like a huge cult. And once
NXIVM?
Kinda. Once these...
Like a sexy one?
Yeah, it kind of is. It goes into that. But once these dancers are in, they cannot get out. And what this documentary follows is a family that have been trying to get their daughter out of it. She was, before 7M, she was a fairly popular TikToker. She had millions of viewers and a lot of people knew her. And she was a TikToker with her sister, so they were a combo. Suddenly, one sister disappeared and everyone's like, where is she? She popped up on a new TikTok feed with all these other dancers. Turns out it is like really, really deeply rooted into this other religious cult. I can't remember the name of the fucking cult. I should have written it down.
Like a Christian kind of fundamentalist thing?
The Shikana cult. The Shikana cult. It's a church run by a guy called Robert Shin, who turns out just loves having babes on side to, do him favors and whatnot.
Yeah.
But this not only explores this, management agency, but then it goes deep into his history with other people coming out saying, well, before 7M, he had this other cult that was even more, sadistic. And
he's working out the kinks.
He certainly is. It's fascinating. Particularly...
If first your cult doesn't succeed, try again, is the old saying.
To give people an idea of how dangerous TikTok can be. Like if you're really on the wrong side of it or, get sucked into the machine.
But it's amazing how TikTok is this weird thing, and social media is all social media is, but TikTok is the most flagrant about it, where it's not just about the voyeurism of social media, but it's about the participation as well. Like everyone wants to be a TikTok star. I want to blow up on TikTok.
Well, that's what he preyed on. That's what this guy preyed on, because it shows that after his previous venture sort of folded, he was looking for a new angle.
Yeah,
discovered TikTok.
The bit it's pretty easy to manipulate narcissists.
Yep, 100. That's what it goes into.
Just feed their ego, and they'll do anything you want.
That's the entire gist of this show.
Hang on a second.
But fascinating.
I'm
Well worth a look. It's called Dancing for the Devil 7M TikTok cult. It's just mind blowing.
Amazing.
There you go. That's it. That's what I've been watching. I haven't watched much else other than podcasts.
Right on like the tubes.
YouTube, yeah. So
Yeah.
trying to get myself into a little bit of fitness after just haven't been feeling too good about myself. So I got myself a treadmill, and I've been just on that watching fucking podcasts on
Watching
YouTube
podcasts on the treadmill
for an hour at a time, and
Nice.
you forget you're actually walking.
It's amazing how sometimes I remember I used to go to the gym. When I used to go to the gym a lot, I had a specific playlist because I needed the music to pump at a certain RPM in order to get me going at the speed I wanted to go on the bike.
Yep.
And for the length,
Yep.
like for the 20 minutes that I was there. And then I changed gyms, and I went to this other one, and their one let you could put on YouTube and stuff like that on the bike screen. Next thing you know, I'm watching episodes of The Bill on the
Mate, that
on the
show
bike.
just follows you everywhere, or do you follow it?
I follow it. Like
Yeah.
I'm an hardcore addict of it. It's once again, and I've been watching a lot of it this week. But what I'm finding is I'm forcing myself, because what I used to do is I was always more interested in the CID characters, the criminal investigation division, than the uniformed officers.
Yeah.
So when I would go through, it was always 1-1. So I would just skip every second episode and just watch the. So now I'm going back and watching the uniform cop episodes, and I'm like, these ones I haven't seen 100 times,
I'll tell you
and
what,
this is pretty good.
You can call me Glennis. I'm going to start calling you Bill. How about that? More like the Mickey Rooney thing, but you know.
Cool. Better not do an impression of that.
No.
Those movies would not wash today. So
So-
I've been watching a lot of that.
Okay.
And look, I also went back because at the moment work has been pretty heavy, and I just haven't had it in me to, like sometimes you just don't feel like watching things that you haven't already seen and don't know. Although, look, that being said, earlier in the week I did it with movies, which is like usually it's the other way around.
Yeah.
But I watched I watched a couple of movies that I'd never seen before.
Nice.
But with the TV, I've just been
comfort.
going back and rewatching stuff. And for the most part, look, the beauty of watching The Bill on YouTube is that they'll cycle through, like someone's put up like the seasons in playlists. So I fall asleep by 8:30, and then at 10:30 when I wake up in the Jason recliner, I've watched 30 episodes of The Bill. And I'm like, there we go.
Well, that's it.
But I have, I also started rewatching. I don't know why, because there's new seasons of I think it's called Outlaws. Has a new season of Outlaws has just dropped on Prime, which is the Steve Merchant British comedy show, which is great.
Yeah,
Christopher Walken is in it as well. And what's his name? Nathan Trent. Is that the guy's name? On Disney Plus. His new season of that has dropped. There's a new Stormbreaker, or no, I think it's Alex. So I think the TV series is just called Alex Rider.
Yeah, Codebreaker was it? Or
Stormbreaker was the movie.
That's right.
And it was based on
Alex Rider books.
the Alex Rider books. And then the TV series on.
I had no idea about
I believe it's on Prime.
Yeah, right.
Has just dropped its third season. So I've got all these shows that I should be rewatching those from the start to kind of Will Trent, not Nathan Trent, Will Trent.
Excellent.
Which is a great show on Disney Plus. I just put on Emily in Paris again and totally just zone out because I think Lily Collins is incredibly attractive. And
that's enough.
That's really. And I've always been a bit of a Francophile, so I love it. Even though the way she gets around Paris is complete horseshit. And you look at any of the criticism online of Emily in Paris, and they all talk about how the geography is totally fucked up. She's just she's picking these spots that are totally an unrealistic representation of what it's actually like in Paris.
That doesn't bother me.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
Like as long as you don't live there, I would hate it if they did it here because I'd pick it all.
Yeah.
Whereas I do not pick it there.
No.
And it's just.
It doesn't matter. We've had that conversation.
It's just
it's
fine.
only
And
the people that live there that matter.
No. And look, and she's going to parties and eating that I would never go to. She's eating food that I would never eat. She's doing stuff. And
Lettuce cups.
And, eating healthily, eating raw meat, all that kind of stuff, and I just watch it and just like like I used to be big into like house hunters and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's only so many times you can not win Tats Lotto before you just give up on that dream.
Yeah, it's depressing.
And so now I'm just vegging out on these comfort shows. Like I've got these new shows in my playlist, and there's still the two Disney
See, sorry, I just
murder shows.
Thinking about like you've given up on like house hunters. They need to do a show for you called like hoarders or like squatters. Like just the complete opposite.
Complete opposite. I need. Look, I thought they had really listened and seen me when they did the lottery. There was that lottery winners.
Yeah.
Perfect home for lottery winners. But they get people who have just like won. Oh, I just won $100,000, and at some point in America you could buy a house for that much money. Like I want to see people who have won obscene amounts of money.
Do you remember
those things?
Do you remember that like current affair news story of the guy that won the lottery on it? Like won a top notch scratchy, and they got him to reenact it on camera, and he won it again.
Yeah,
son of a bitch.
That's I want that to be me.
You can't help but feel like that was rigged, right?
Yeah,
that's just what are the odds? Anyway,
I'm sure that I watched a lot more TV in the long weekend that's just gone. Post recording, pre dropping of this episode.
I've got a hunger, twisting my stomach into knots that my tongue is tied off. My brain's repeating, if you've got an impulse, let it out. But they never make it past my mouth. Ba-ba, this is the sound of settling. Ba-ba, 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 this is the sound of settling. Ba-ba. Just around the bend, I can't wait to go gray, and I'll sit and wonder of every love that could have been, if I'd only thought of something charming to say. Ba-ba, this is the sound of settling. Ba-ba, ba-ba, ba-ba. Twisting my stomach into knots.
Hey, but do you remember that movie Mean Creek?
Mean Creek.
Yeah, it's like a really dark coming of age movie about a bunch of boys that go down to like into the woods and one of them dies. One of them is a bully and they kill him. And then and the bully that got killed was played by the fat kid that is now skinny that was in Turner and Hooch the TV show. And he was like one of those fucking Nickelodeon stars. Anyway, that's just the really long way of me for saying that song is from the soundtrack to Mean Creek. It's Death Cab for Cutie, Sound of Settling. Any excuse to get Death Cab onto the show. Plus, that soundtrack also has the Eels, so it was a really tough one to choose. He's looking it up.
Just give you 1 second. You may have to cut this in because if it's the one I'm thinking of, then we released Mean Creek.
I don't think you did.
What's the one we released? That I think Phil, that we interviewed on the show, directed.
No, this one's Greg Akari, I think. Oh, no, that was Mysterious Skin. I can't remember who directed this one.
Greg Araki, you mean?
Greg Araki, yep.
Mean Creek. Not Rory Culkin.
Yeah, he's in
Okay,
it.
that's not the one I'm thinking of then.
Yeah, great movie.
What one am I thinking of? That's exactly the same as that.
Remember at
Cruel
the start-
Summer.
Oh yeah,
Cruel
yeah.
Summer is very
Remember
similar.
at the start of the show, I said we'd fumble our words and struggle to remember names and places and things.
I just figured you'd cut all that out.
Some of it I might. I don't know. Like it's kind of interesting rambles.
Depends how I feel. Like if you can't cut out all the Glennis stuff, then why would you cut out all of the stuff of me not knowing?
Anyway, we've got an interview to listen to. Let's go to that. This Canadian director, as I said, Robert Budreau. I'm probably saying it
Is it like
completely wrong.
Budreau?
Budreau.
Like Budreau.
Budreau. It's French.
Like a French
Budreau. You're the
French-Canadian.
Francophile. Come on.
Budreau? That's Budreau.
So as I said, he's made quite a few films, notably too with Ethan Hawke. His new one he's described as a rural noir, which is Delia's Gone. It is just been released on DVD here. It's got Stephen James, Marissa Tomei, Paul Walter Hauser, Travis Fimmel. It's a great cast.
Great cast.
Paul Walter Hauser is particularly good in this, and I definitely pick his brain about that.
I keep seeing on my, funnily enough, on my TikTok feed,
Yeah.
that scene of him on the airplane with the woman saying, do you mind switching seats with my daughter because she likes to look out the window? And he's like, no, but this is a good way to teach her that you don't always get what you want. Fuck that kid.
So just for a bit of context, just so you know what the film's about and what we're talking about in the interview, it is about a guy who is mildly retarded and he is sent to prison for his sister's murder, wrongfully. And several years later, he gets out and tries to solve the crime himself and track down the murderer. But because he's sort of intellectually handicapped, it's sort of not as easy as it should be. Great concept.
So you didn't say it was a comedy. Just so wrong.
And then there's...
Could you imagine it as a police academy type movie? the main guys played by Mickey Rooney. It's like the Further Adventures of Bill. But he solves a crime.
Man, you're always just looking for a way to get cancelled. That's just your mission in life, I think.
Oh, Jesus.
He does have another movie coming out called Queen of Bones, as I said, with Martin Freeman. So let's just have a chat with him and we'll see the Boneheads afterwards and then some more stuff. Well, thank you, Robert, for taking time to chat. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you.
My pleasure.
So I've been looking everywhere for the short story that Delia's Gone is based on. I can't find it. How did you stumble on it?
Well, you couldn't find it because it's unpublished. And I stumbled on it because I know the writer Michael Hamblin, and he had written this short story actually several years before I started working with him, and he had mapped out other versions and other scripts and stuff. And so, but it was a project I had connected with Michael on a few other things. But that's why you couldn't find it. So it's the original story that Michael had, Lewis was much older. It includes some of the same themes of him having to effectively break out of prison and try to track down those responsible for the death of his sister, but it was quite different, and so we kind of worked together to update that.
Awesome. That is very cool. I just love the entire theme of this film, like, with the lead character's mental state and the way he processes things. And I'm going to ask you about that in a little bit, but was there one particular thing about the story that you sort of latched onto that compelled you to tell it?
I've always been a big fan of old folk music, and there was something about, like, the song Delia's Gone is an old song by Blind Willie McTell, which has been updated by Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, and others, and like some of the other characters and names were also kind of based on these old folk kind of mythological characters. And I grew up in a very small town and have always wanted to tell a rural noir, and so it felt very personal to me. And so there was a lot of themes and elements of the story that I thought, ooh, this, I could personalize this and tell this story. So that's kind of why.
Yeah, okay. I kind of find that your films can easily be described on a color spectrum, if that makes sense. Like if I had to describe Delia's Gone, it would be a bluish grey. Similar to Stockholm would be like a yellow film. Does that make sense to you? Is color something you have in mind when you're writing?
Not exactly. I mean, I think because Delia's Gone is a rural thriller, and I think about, the American Midwest and also Southwestern Ontario, which is where I grew up in Canada. I do think of, ironically, I think of kind of like the browns of the empty fields and stuff, but ultimately there is kind of a coolness. I know something like Stockholm had a bit more of a vibrant color because of the 70s and the costumes, and it kind of, it's more of a dark comedy, whereas Delia's Gone is anything but a comedy.
Yeah, that's for sure. Cast is phenomenal here. It feels to me like this was an ensemble that you go after rather than auditioning. I don't know if that is the case, but is that how it came together? Did you go after all these people?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely did not audition any of these folks. I felt very fortunate. We shot this, during COVID times. This was a couple of years back now. And it was a bit crazy to be shooting. And, we were one of the first ones to shoot during COVID, just when it was starting. And so it was kind of a miracle. It's always a miracle when the stars align and you can put together a great cast like this. And they all had come up in quarantine for a couple of weeks in Canada, and we were able to pull it off.
Yeah, very cool. Stephen James is kicking goals as well. Excellent casting. I think he plays the mentally handicapped persona really well without overplaying it. Was it difficult to bring his character to life on screen without sort of courting controversy? Because a lot of people can be very sensitive to those things.
Well, I mean, the reality is, like, I was able, I brought him to the screen through some prep and through working with him. And then, what happens after is kind of like beyond your control. Like, I think it also depends on the times. Like, this film has a bit of an old soul and kind of comes from that original Mice and Men kind of feeling, and plays like the Ferryman or something like Sling Blade. But those were all pre kind of Me Too and pre kind of certain movements. And so, we all know we live in more politically sensitive times regarding race, regarding a disability. And so it is much trickier nowadays, no matter what film you are, to do that. And so I just think, Stefan and I were very sensitive to that. But no matter what you do, you can never completely win on that front. And you kind of just have to accept that and try to do your best,
Well, I think you get away with it. That's sort of that's my point. I think he sort of he presents it really authentically. There's something about his character that I can't quite pin. I feel like there's almost an entire movie happening inside his head, because there's so much sort of comprehension and almost sleuthiness going on in there that we don't necessarily know, but we can detect it's happening. What was your main direction for him in terms of inner dialogue and things like that?
Well, I think it was one of the things that interested me about this is you've got this guy who isn't functioning necessarily on exactly the same levels of detection as you'd expect from a guy who's kind of tasked with this effectively solving and being the detective for this murder. And so that's what's interesting for me is you kind of don't want to hear all of his inner thoughts. That being said, I think when you see the flashbacks, the only person he really expresses himself properly to is his sister, and now she's gone. And so I tend to be drawn to these films where characters often are quieter and a bit more lonesome. And then the trick with those films is that they don't have as many people to talk to and tell them about what they're thinking. And so, but I always like that personally in stories.
Absolutely. I reckon also Paul Walter Hauser is one of the great unsung heroes of our time. I just absolutely love this guy. Another one that I'd love to have a chat with and pick his brain, but he strikes me as a lovely guy. How did you find working with him?
Paul is a very, very lovely guy, and I absolutely adored working with Paul. He's definitely one of my favorite actors in the whole world. He's so good, and he's so easy to work with, and he's so kind. I literally cannot say enough about Paul.
I'm trying to place where in time his level of fame was when he did Delia's Gone, when you shot it during the pandemic, and he was
Well,
and truly established by then. But such a great get, and he's kind of unusual in the film and yet fits it perfectly.
Yeah, it was interesting because he, in a way, he's not who you'd expect for that character opposite Marissa, but then in other ways, I think he brings a certain lightness and naturalness to it, which I really liked. And part of me, once they start, it's what happens with these things. You start working with him and those two, and it's like, oh my God, I would have liked to have delved so much deeper into those relationships. But it's not really their film. And it's like, oh, you almost wish it was like an 8-part miniseries, which kind of really opened it all out, because I'd love to work with Paul in an even bigger role, and I hope to be able to do that at some point.
That'd be great. I just feel like in this film, when it comes time for his character to step up, he really does, and you really feel it. And I get that in all of his performances. He has this ability to just sort of flick a switch and just ramp it up, and I love it. But also in your film, you've got fellow Aussie Travis Fimmel, who's also been riding a high for several years now, and I would love to interview him as well. But I'm guessing he had come off Vikings at this stage. What was it about him that appealed to you in this?
Well, I think Travis brings a certain kind of rough gravitas. He doesn't have to do much. He's got those magnetic eyes, and he's got that look and the feel. So he can just really do very little and communicate so much with his presence. And I always like actors like that who he doesn't need to try too hard. He doesn't need to say too much. He kind of can be himself, and he gives you what you need. And again, he was really great to work with, really down to earth, really easy. And he's another person who I'm hoping to work with again.
That'd be cool. I follow him on social media, and there is no one more down to earth than him. He's a real Aussie lad, that's for sure. He's a lot of fun. And obviously Marissa Tomei, goes without saying, she's a favorite on our podcast. We talk about her work all the time. Great to see her playing this type. Was she really down for, being, I guess, made less attractive?
Yeah, it was one of the things that I think attracted her and probably scared her. And I thought that was quite interesting, because she often, she comes from playing a lot of these sexier roles, romantic comedies, and to play like a rough older sheriff, and we made her look old. We added wrinkles and we made her look, a certain thing. I think it takes a certain amount of bravery for an actress to do that. But she's so experienced and she's done so many things, and it also just takes a certain trust. I think, I was able to have that with someone like Ethan Hawke, who I've worked with a few times, and I think Marissa, we found that trust, and then she was willing to go there, which was great, because it makes it more believable.
100%. If I could just pivot for a second, I'm wondering how it is that you work when you're looking for your next project, and because none of your films, I must say beforehand, none of them are the same. You've got a really awesome way of picking projects that separate themselves, and you haven't latched onto a particular one thing. What do you look for in a project when you're going from one to another?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to define, but I am attracted, naturally, because I'm a man, in North America now, like in around 50s. I you still tend to gravitate to things you can relate to and personalize, and so not always, but generally I tend to default to slightly more male-driven roles for guys that are in their 40s or 50s that I can kind of understand, and they're, typically, flawed male protagonists who are in some way seeking some form of redemption for something. That if there was any kind of unifying thing, I think throughout my work, it would probably be that. But that being said, I quite enjoy different genres, doing different things. And I often just look for films that speak to something that I really fall for, but then also have good roles, because whether I'm writing or whether I'm just directing, it's all about trying to work with great cast all the time. So that's always kind of the driving force.
Yeah, I noticed that behind you, you've got posters of your films, and Born to be Blue is larger than the rest. Is that because you're particularly proud of that, or is it more of an aesthetic thing?
No, it's just because that happened to be a French. The French have these kind of oversized. It's the only oversized poster I've ever gotten, but the French did a huge release on that, including box sets and CDs and so did the Koreans and the Japanese because they're obsessed with Chet Baker. So I have all kinds of unique merch on that film from those places.
Very, very cool. I love that one too. And your next one coming up, or it has come out in the States in North America, is Queen of Bones, which we're yet to see down here. I can't wait. And if it has released here, I've missed it, and I'm really, really going to kick myself.
No, it hasn't. We played a few festivals here, but it actually hasn't been released. It was at Toronto and it played Santa Barbara, a few other festivals. But there's going to be a theatrical here in the fall, and then I'm not sure yet what the Australian plan is. It's usually follows, so I suspect that'll be in 2025. But I'm excited about that one. That's yet another different thing for me.
Absolutely, the trailer is creepy as fuck. Like, it looks really good. Love Martin Freeman. Very excited. What color would you say that one is?
Well, it's interesting because we have two prints of that one. We have our kind of 30s film, which has got this austere. We try not to overly desatch it, but we also have a pure black and white print, which is just black and white. Wow. Which to me is my favorite, because to me that feels like the Grapes of Wrath, that kind of 30s Depression era, which is kind of the look and feel of the movie. But we didn't shoot it in black and white though. So, who knows? Maybe some territories will use the black and white. We're kind of giving it to everybody, but I expect most places will use the color because it's a bit more commercial. And so, yeah, I don't know what color I'd call that film. It's kind of, hopefully has a bit of a kind of a faded look, but hopefully not too desatched, because I find it can start to get a little cliche if you kind of go too hard on that.
Mm-hmm. How would you describe the film itself for all of us that haven't seen it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just it's a supernatural thriller. It's obviously got the Steinbeckian kind of period drama aspect, a little bit of folk horror stuff in there, and it's the first time I've ever worked with kids as leads. So it's Julia Butters and Jacob Tremblay. They're the leads, and then Martin Freeman and Taylor Schillings and some others. So that was a first for me to have the film driven by kids. A lot of challenges, but they were great. So.
Yeah, cool. I'm excited. I can't wait to see it. And I hope that we have some boutique labels down here, and I hope that whoever picks that one up feels compelled to put the black and white one, even if it's like in a special feature or something like that, for sure. Yeah. Before I let you run, on a personal note, I'm wondering what sort of films you sort of lean into in your downtime. What kind of things do you watch?
It's funny because, I mean, I'm often writing and developing other films. I tend to often be watching a lot of films that are like reference films, and then other than what's currently in the cinema. And I have a family, I have some young kids, so I don't get to the cinema nearly as much as I'd like. But I end up watching, I watch a lot of old stuff, partly because a lot of the films I develop tend to be period films, for better or worse. So I've been spending a decent amount of time on Criterion Channel and other places like that. And I'm developing this kind of Hitchcockian throwback to the 60s again right now. So I'm watching some of that kind of stuff. And so it's just fun to keep doing those deep dives. I keep doing them because some of that stuff you just can't get enough of.
100%. What's sort of a pure escapism movie for you?
Pure escapism movie. Well, yeah, I mean, like if I just want to completely not think, a default escapism would be like a 40s or 50s film noir. Uh-huh. Not like a comedy or something. I mean, not that I have anything, and I don't mind comedies, but I could just put on an old 40s or 50s film noir that I've seen many times, and that could just be like a relaxing thing to kind of watch. I don't know why. Maybe it goes back to my film school days where I used to watch like 4 of them a day, and was obsessed with them. But there's something about it that for me is just kind of puts me into a different place.
Very, very cool. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking a time to chat with me. This film's great, and you haven't made a bad movie yet, so like I can't wait to see Queen of Bones and whatever this new one is that you referenced just there. Looking forward to it. But thanks so much, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure.
Welcome to Bonehead Weekly Fun Size. This week, James is going to tell us what our top topic is because I'm
What was
drunk.
that? What was that?
I've been drinking, Chad.
So you finally have some personality. Anyway, our topic
water.
this week is about films where actors play against type. Usually, you get typecast or you get viewed as, oh, you're a comedic actor, you're an action film star. So we're going to talk about a couple examples, actors that play against type in film.
Absolutely. I want to go all the way back to 1968. Now, you may not remember what was going on in 1968 because technically neither of the three of us except Chad was born, but Henry Fonda, with those brilliant, beautiful blue eyes, was playing a bad guy in Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West.
Nobody knows what it's like to be the bad guy behind blue eyes.
It's one of those performances we don't think about now, but Henry Fonda at the time, that was it was risque. Not only was he going to go make an Italian Western, but at the same time,
Joe had to get fancy, risque. He just couldn't say risky.
He was going to go make a movie where he was the bad guy, and he had played Lincoln for John Ford, and once again for John Ford in The Grapes of Wrath.
You remember that time? You remember that time he played Jack Burton?
He was shooting people, innocent farmers.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a bad guy,
torturing kids.
Yeah, I just don't think people remember. And he wanted to have a mustache. No, he's not. And Sergio's like, no, I want the blue eyes. I don't want you covering any of it up. This is who you're going to be. They're going to know that this is Henry Ford. Henry Fonda.
I was actually thinking about Henry Fonda. But that being said, I did come up with two, and my next is kind of a twofer. Because he does.
What's your twofer? To eat with.
Anyway, he plays against type in two films. Robin Williams is known as a comedic actor, and especially to my children, he's known as the genie. He's known as, Once Upon a Time, or not Once Upon a Time, not in the museum.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Not in a museum and all that stuff. But there's two films where he plays really despicable, and he did dramas too. I don't want to. The remake, Christopher Nolan's remake of Insomnia, and 1 Hour Photo.
1 Hour Photo may very well be one of his best performances, probably top 3. I don't know that I can recommend. I like the movie. I don't, but it's just a fantastic performance.
It's not a feel-good film.
No, it's not a repeat. It's not like, oh my God, let's watch that again. It was so much fun.
No,
well, obviously one of the three of us had a bit different experience.
Well, the fact that you have it replay and you make your children watch it between you and the FBI.
Yeah, I suggest that a Serbian film and Martyrs were also poor choices, but that's keep going.
But listen, when you
show to those babies,
when you host the Girl Scout Jamboree, you get to make the choices. I guess
you get to make the
point
choices.
Being, it's definitely an example of an actor playing against what most people assumed he would do. And if you go back and watch them, he does it well. He does it well.
I got to go with a movie. So Dan Aykroyd, mostly known for playing, the lovable goof, sometimes the straight character, but never the homicidal maniac. I got to go with his character Grocer in Grosse Point Blank.
Yeah, I didn't care for Grosse Point Blank when it came out. It's one of those movies I really need to revisit someday.
I absolutely loved Grosse Point Blank when it came out, and I still do. Dan Aykroyd, it's one of my favorite John Cusack films, and Grocer, Dan Aykroyd's character is wonderful in the film. He just plays a hitman who's wanting to unionize, but he is so goddamn crazy that there's no way he's ever going to pull it off. And he, the battle him and John Cusack's character, Martin Blank have between each other is awesome. And it's just you've never seen Dan Aykroyd play this type of character before, and it blew me away seeing him play that kind of villainous, just evil. And I wish Dan Aykroyd would play more of this. So I just loved Grosse Point Blank. And also, it's one of those movies that I think that is kind of critically appreciated and has a cult following. But if you look at the creators, it's like, how the hell did this actually become a success?
You ever see that Nothing But Trouble, Chad? That's a movie.
Yeah, that's a movie.
That is a movie. This has been Bonehead Weekly Fun Size.
Thanks, Boneheads. Actors playing against type there, man. They're picking some good subjects lately.
Picking some good subjects. Yeah. When I listened to that segment, I was thinking it just made me really think of Fred McMurray in The Apartment.
Oh yeah.
Because after he was really worried that everyone would hate him after it because he's such a prick in the film.
Yeah, that's right.
He was terrified that everyone would hate him. He was used to playing like the nice guy.
I've forgotten who they mentioned or referenced on the segment, but Leslie Nielsen, when he first did Flying High, was a serious actor up until that point.
Yeah.
Like, that was huge.
He was the straight man to Don Knotts and stuff in movies.
Harrison Ford in What Lies Beneath. That came to mind as well. Like, he hasn't done one like that since. Like, it's the only time he's played a real...
Like a bad guy, yeah.
Real bad guy. Ben Kingsley, Sexy Beast, he came to mind.
Yeah.
That's Gundy.
And Ray Winston, really.
Yeah. Although Ray Winston kind of plays a tough guy, a gangster type.
Just not as...
Yeah.
He's never not been the toughest guy in the room.
Yeah, that's right. He's sort of playing down a bit.
Yeah.
That's true. The only other one that came to my mind was Stallone in Copland. I think that's pretty against type.
Yeah.
Yeah, but man, they need to get us into one of these shows where they pick these subjects. I'd love to talk with the Bonehead
If
about
only
that.
it wasn't such an awkward time difference.
I know. I mean, we could be up on a Saturday morning and do their Friday night, but that means getting up on a Saturday morning for me.
Yeah. I'm already up.
That's all right.
I'm willing to do it, but they never asked me.
Hey, something funny, a little with that interview that we just played that I wanted to just touch upon because I found this hilarious. So when we were talking about the production of it, he mentioned that they were one of the first movies to film during the pandemic, like a COVID film. And I just thought back to how many interviews I've done with directors that have said they're the first COVID movie. It's like Hollywood threw a massive COVID party.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on with all these? We're the first.
Like, they all just said, fuck it.
None of them knew that they were all working as well.
At the same time. They said, fuck it. We're just going to shoot. This is horse shit.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're going to do it.
Can I go first with my recommendations?
Sure.
Okay, so because last week you watched, was it last week or the week before you did Margin Call?
I think it was last week.
Yeah, so that was directed by J.C. Chandor, and I watched another one of his movies this
Oh.
week, which was A Most Violent Year.
Is that another financial...
It's the one with Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain and Albert Brooks, and it is kind of like an anti-Godfather movie because it is in all manner of design, plot, and aesthetic a gangster movie, like a Godfather type movie, but it subverts the genre completely and has this guy being the only genuinely good guy in town as a business owner that's trying to make an honest living.
But he's the Godfather.
Well, he's kind of the lead character, and he's the head of the family. His wife was born into a crime family, but he forbids her to do any crime. And she's constantly trying to say, well, look, you'd get by in life a lot easier if you were a bit, this under the table or, cook the books over here. And he's refusing. He's so honest, he can't bring himself to do it. But the problem he has is that all of the competitors in the area, because he runs a company that sort of transports oil across the city, like petrol. And all of the competition, he doesn't know which one, but some of them are hijacking his trucks and stealing all of his fuel. But he hasn't got the cojones to fight back in a dirty way. So he's trying to do it honestly, and the cops are not interested in helping him. And to the point that the banks pull out of a deal he's about to do, and he loses a $1.5 million investment from them, and he's got 3 days to find this money in an honest way when he could easily have it like that.
Like that, yeah.
Anyway, I'm not really doing it justice.
It's like Brewster's Millions, but with,
yes. But it is, and it all takes place on the banks of the Hudson River with this overlook of New York, set in the 70s, so it has that kind of look about it. But it's just a wonderful movie. It is a nasty movie. Like, there's some stuff going on around him that's pretty awful. But I just love the fact that this movie follows a genuinely honest guy, salt of the earth, that is operating in a world where he's the only one.
It's not corrupt.
Yeah, and he doesn't
cave
into it.
Yeah.
Great movie. And as I said, it's J.C. Chandor.
Come on. Yeah. You want it to get about 3/4 of the way through, and then he goes, fuck it, and then tears everyone a new one.
There is some great moments, not where he crosses a line, but where he gets smart against them. Albert Brooks is great in this too. Like, I've got to say, like, he plays the accountant for the company that's trying to keep it honest, is possibly doing some dirty shit on the side, just to get them through the financial stress of it all. But great stuff. So, A Most Violent Year, well worth a look. That's my recommendation.
Lovely.
Yours?
Well, I had to go back. I went back this week to rewatch some horror films that I have not seen in a long time. And I believe I texted you about it after I'd finished the first one, which was and I'm talking about Hostel.
Oh, yeah,
Went back and watched the Hostel films. I watched the first and the second. I did not get to the third.
That's okay.
But I watched the first one, and I was shocked. I remember texting you
Yeah.
how much nudity was in it.
100%.
Like it is, like the beginning 20, 30 minutes of the setup, it's just non-stop naked women. And you're like, this feels weird now. Watching it. But it's quite, considering what it is, it's quite an enjoyable film, and it does have that. I can't remember that guy's name, but he's in Suits and stuff. A little rat face guy.
Is it Jay Hernandez or whatever his name is?
No, he's the lead.
Okay,
That's he's the new Magnum PI.
Oh, you're talking about Rick Hoffman.
Yeah, Rick Hoffman.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot he was in it.
And he is great.
Rat
in
face. He's so it's a rat face.
Yeah, it really is. Like I don't think, there's that new like rat, Year of the Rat face men thing in Hollywood, and they got all these. I love it. They got these women coming out going, look at these rat face guys. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I think they're really sexy rat face men, and you're like, that's the equivalent of me going, look at all these fat chicks. No, it's okay because I really like fat chicks. Fucking would not stand.
Nope,
it's outrageous.
Yep.
But I had not actually seen Hostel 2 before.
Which is where it's at for me.
And I think I texted when you said Hostel 2 is where it's at, and I go, well, if there's any justice in the world, this Hostel 2 is just going to be full of cock.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna be in the hostel, and there's just going to be dicks flopping in the wind, left, right, and center, just to make up for all the nudity in Hostel 1.
Uh-huh.
There was, in fact, not dicks everywhere. There was, but there wasn't.
You could say there's a bloodbath.
There is a bloodbath.
Which is glorious.
There is some boobs. There's more boobs.
That actual bloodbath where she's suspended above the bath.
Yeah, it's
just the best.
The weirdest thing about this movie, is that it's Heather Matarazzo, Busy Phillips, and the lead actress is from Lucifer, whose name I can't remember now.
Mm-hmm.
And she's really great. And there's some side characters in there that are also great. Edwige, I never know how to say her name. Edwige Fenwick pops up.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she hasn't been in a film in 30 years, and then turns up as the art teacher for this like great cameo, which I think is just pure Eli Roth fanboying.
Absolutely, there's a lot of cameos in these movies.
Yeah, there actually really is.
Takashi Miike's in there.
Yeah, right. Looking sweaty and gross.
And what's his face? The guy that directed Cannibal Holocaust. Daddario, what's his name? His name.
Diodato.
Ruggero. Yeah.
Yeah, Ruggero Diodato.
That's it. He's in it. He plays a guy eating somebody.
Yeah, he sits there and he's got the lovely meal.
Yeah.
Where they come and offer him I can't remember anyone's name now, but the guys who come. The two guys that are the kind of villains of Hostel 2 are great.
Yep.
But the main one who kind of can't do it, who accidentally scalps Busy Phillips. But the thing that's so weird is that Busy Phillips keeps her clothes on and Heather Matarazzo gets naked, which is a total like reversal of fortune.
I remember somewhere she was saying that's the most difficult film she's ever had to do, just physically, because all the blood was going to her head. She was upside down.
Yeah, they strung her upside down, yeah.
But they didn't really let her down. She was up there for like an hour at a time.
Yeah.
Which is just incredible.
It's dangerous, actually quite dangerous.
Yeah.
But it's a really good movie. My only criticism of it is, and this is a criticism I guess, of the franchise, and it's not really a criticism, but and it's not a spoiler, but if you've seen the first one, you know that Jay Hernandez survives.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only survivor of the first film. And he turns up at the beginning of the second film and immediately gets killed.
Yep.
And I was like, surely, it's time for him to learn Kung Fu and then come back as as a hostel buster who helps them escape. But no.
Part of me liked that he came back because I saw that it was Eli Roth trying to tie it together as one story.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it felt like a throwaway.
Like it was totally... It meant nothing,
Yeah.
his death at the start of the film, which is like, other than linking them, that it's the same organization.
Part 2 is kind of a bit of a gender reverse in general, though, isn't it? Like goes from, was it all guys that die in the first one and all females in the second?
No, because the Busy Phillips' boyfriend, he's the one he gets eaten.
Yeah, fuck, I need to go back and watch these. It's a good thing, though, I must say, that you didn't do number 3, because I feel like that needs a good space of time before you
watch it. And there's, I mean, the kids come back into it. The kids are great. The kids are great in the first one.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Just, if you ever go to Romania or wherever the hell it is, bring gum. Bring gum.
Yes, that's right.
Because those kids will fuck you up.
Hostel, also produced by Scott Spiegel and Quentin Tarantino.
I think Scott Spiegel directs the third one.
He does. They both do audio commentary with Eli Roth on the first 2.
Yeah,
so
right.
Tarantino and Scott Spiegel. Yeah.
I did not listen to the commentaries or anything like that. I didn't watch any extras. I just put them in because I'd watched a doco.
Mm-hmm.
I'd watched a doco on noughties and 90s horror films, and then I was like, fuck, I've got to go back and watch a bunch of these.
Yeah, Hostel's it really was a return of the video nasty style of...
It really
which we now call torture porn.
But not as bad. Like, it actually, in hindsight, it wasn't as bad as I remember it being. And not that it's not brutal and gory and everything like that, but I didn't find it gratuitous, really.
No, because it's the difference between this and I guess the nasties of the 70s and 80s is this one is much more stylized.
Yeah, look, the video nasties,
they're grotty and grimy, I think.
A lot of the video nasties films weren't even that bad, like especially not by today's standards.
Yeah.
But it was all, it was all that woman in Britain kind of,
it was a censorship around it that made it
made them worse than they actually were. Like none of them are like Burial Ground or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or like necromantic or was it what's the anthropophagus?
Yeah,
all those Jürgen Buckerite movies or anything. They're just like Evil Dead is a video nasty, and you're like,
I know.
You're watching it. You come on.
Yeah. But we did go through this little renaissance of what they're calling torture porns.
But yeah, look, no, and definitely, and that Hostel was kind of like the big kind of start of that.
Yep.
Of the return of that genre. I'm just saying that watching it now, I would not consider it torture porn.
Yeah.
Even though it is like just a lot of people getting tortured. It's not...
You didn't jerk off this time?
Yeah, I did. Well, no, I didn't come.
Oh, okay.
I just edged my way through it.
So we didn't have a necromantic moment.
Yeah, there was no blood come.
Oh my God, it's time to wrap it up. It's time to go when
you start talking about blood
when the blood starts to flow. Okay.
But you know what I mean? Like, I was watching them and I was like,
I do.
Like, you can, like, there's torture for torture's sake. And if you watch something like a Serbian film or Life and Death of a Porno Gang and these kind of things, they're a lot kind of grottier and
they are.
And kind of more extreme. A lot of those are violence and torture for torture's sake.
Yeah.
Whereas this is
it's a narrative. It's a story.
It's a narrative, yeah. Like, and you can totally believe that they're... I mean, the only thing that's unbelievable about the films is the prices are so low.
Yeah.
By today's standards, they're like...
Is there a big red finger that's down?
Yeah. You can kill someone. It's $25,000 to kill an American. Like, that's the top...
Yeah.
The top tier is like an American, $25,000. And you're like, really? I've got credit cards that have limits higher than that.
Although I don't necessarily recommend it, I'm keen to get your thoughts on part 3 because it goes to America. It's in Vegas. It's all behind the front of a casino.
Yeah.
So
there's no reason why that stuff wouldn't be happening. It's
I know.
Why are they? Why are they traveling all the way to Europe for this?
Changed kind of the I guess the law within the Hostel franchise, like the purpose of it and whatnot. But anyway, I think that brings us to the end of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can go and watch Hostel 3 now.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. It's been another fun one. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to go to goodmoviemonday.com and find your way to our socials and engage with us and like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Anything else you want to say before we run?
No.
Okay. Well, this is a song called Always All Right from Alabama Shakes from the Silver Linings Playbook soundtrack. See you next week, everyone.
Bye.